YouTube! Today, we watch communism. That's on it. Today, we watch communism! Which Pokemon region is the closest to a communist revolution? By This Is Chris. Because it showed up in my recommendation and I went, wow, that title, concept, and thumbnail goes really hard. So therefore, we must watch it together. It is our video, guys. Guys, it's our video! It's our video! Good luck to the editor, Reed, who's gonna be editing this. Congratulations on your newfound communism, I guess. Prediction started. Oh my god, wait, you guys have a prediction now. Oh, wow. Holy fucking shit. That's a big-ass prediction. Give me a second. I need to show this. Oh, it has enough. Yeah, you've been given rights. You've been given rights. Vote now for which region you think. Mystery Dungeon World is definitely closest to communism. Okay, I need to just like put a random guess so that way Reed can tell me if I'm wrong at the end of the video or edit in if I'm like wrong and that kind of stuff. Gates to Infinity for no reason whatsoever. Gang, let's fucking go.
Communist
Hi YouTube,
is probably not a topic you think about while playing Pokemon. I mean, all the regions are super stable and almost idyllic. There's no way any of them are close to a full-blown communist revolution, right? Well, the more I thought about each region and the more I thought about why communist revolution happens, the more I realized that some of these regions actually do have the potential to see communist movement. So today we're going—
The more I thought about Pokemon, the more I thought about the communist revolution. Yeah, buddy, yeah!
to be talking about each region and how likely they are to start seeing red, using a criteria that I thought made the most sense, which we will go over as we talk about the Kanto region. The circumstances that set a country or region up for communist change are complex and vary a lot, but there are a few pieces of the puzzle that must be there before any change can happen. The first and most important one is wealth stratification, meaning a wide divide between the super rich and everyday man.
Yeah, Kanto is post-war, because Surge always talks about, like, the war. And isn't it also within the environment you see as well? There's not many people in Kanto, and there's a lot of, like, women and children and old people, but there's not a lot of, like, young men. Surge won the war. Bro won the war, okay? Everyone in Kanto is super broke. I'm thinking of that guy that lost all his money at the casino, and then he's like, yeah, go ahead, laugh. I forget what he says. He went bust or something. I forgot. Yeah, that was me, bro. Oh, fuck. Oops.
When people cannot afford to eat or can see their material conditions deteriorate before their very eyes, they become far, far more open to change, especially radical change. Those who are even just decent in their quality of lives are a lot less susceptible to change in general, but especially radical change like communism, as the change could imply that their lives get worse, even if there is a long-term benefit for society as a whole. While it is not necessary for the entire region to struggle financially, the more struggle there is, the more ready for social change of any kind, including communism, people usually are. This is a category where Kanto really succeeds. It is the most—
Kanto is like so close to communism. It's so successful. Kanto really succeeds in this category. Kanto has a single tower for the dead. I don't know, any place can have a graveyard or like a tower for it. I don't know how common it is, but I feel like you can just build one if you needed more places to store like dead bodies, right? Is that a bad thought?
Financially weak region we see of the 9 main regions, with many trainers awarding money at the lowest rate of any region. Yet, at the same time, the region has one of the biggest companies in the world of Pokemon, Silph Co., whose president had hired—
this one always just makes me go, oh, you fucker. Because I am rich, I can give you anything. And I'm like, give me money, I don't want a Master Ball.
Ups seem to be immensely wealthy. The region also seems to be—
It is such a long statement. It's like, yeah, I don't concern myself with the thoughts of the poor people that never crossed my mind, is logs. That's literally logs, by the way. And by the way, before anyone says anything, that was literally him in a meeting I had approximately 3 weeks ago. Y'all can't see my hand cam stream right now, but like my hand's like spread out on the table right now. That's literally him in a meeting I had with the rest of Outbreak 3 weeks ago. This is recent shit. That's literally him. Anyways.
Suffering from post-war economic stagnation due to the losses of labor that happen when a significant portion of the working population dies, like in a war. Many of those who did survive the war seem to be stuck at low-paying jobs like
I triggered her. What? Nah, it's fine. He's just stupid.
fishermen, or gamblers, if you can even consider that a job. So Kanto is already a contender for communist change simply because of its poor economic state. But weak economic power is only one part of the puzzle. Another major piece is class consciousness. Class consciousness is basically the ability for a social or economic class to identify common interests within itself. It is important for a number of reasons. First of all, it helps to guarantee that radical change leads to communism rather than fascism. When people are in dire economic straits, they will accept pretty
Outbreak would love the Great Leap Forward. Yeah, how close is my VTuber agency to communism, guys?
much any leadership that tells them they can fix their issues. While this can lead to economic change
You can't fix a VTuber's issues. You really can't, bro.
in the direction of communism, it can also lean in the opposite direction and lead to political change like fascism, as the people just want change. This is a major reason we got governments such as the Nazi Party of Germany, as they promised to feed the people and the people believed them. The same could be said, and I'm sure some of you won't like this, about the MAGA movement in the United States, where Republican leaders essentially promised to make the lives of Americans better and Democrats didn't for some reason. In both these cases, class consciousness was either highly suppressed or barely there in the first.
You know, this reminds me of something. My Glitchstars contract says no politics, but I was okayed for this video. So
place. And that is part of why the radicalization fell to the right rather than to the left. Obviously, there's a lot more going on in both these examples, but the lack of class consciousness did play a role. And when we look at places that did or do have relatively high
look, man, I asked, can I watch this video? And then it was like, okay, you can watch this video.
levels of class consciousness, like the French Revolution, the Cuban Communist Revolution, or the Vietnam Communist Revolution, the result was often a radicalization to the left rather than the right. So a degree of class consciousness is important to ensure that the social movement that develops from poor economic status leans towards communism, and the Kanto region has a fairly high degree of class consciousness. There are a number of NPCs across the region that make some mention of understanding the economic struggle the region is undergoing, but
I mean, it's about Pokemon, so it can't be political. It's in the title! It's in the title. Okay, where are we at? 4 minutes? This is the first second of the video! This is at 0! This is at 0! What do you mean?
Undergoing. But the far larger indicator of class consciousness comes via environmental storytelling, as we can see some low levels of local organization as a result of economic struggle, like the biker gangs on Cycling Road and, ironically enough, Team Rocket. Even though Team Rocket is an evil team and stealing Pokemon is obviously wrong, their organization shows an understanding that the economic situation in Kanto isn't great. If stealing and selling Pokemon is more lucrative than having a day job and this many people notice that, that's a sign of a common issue with misplaced action. The third piece of our communist puzzle is organizations. An organization is basically just an entity that is more powerful than an individual. It can be a corporation, a political party, a gang, pretty much anything that is more than the sum of its parts. The important thing about an organization in the context of a communist movement is that they are compelling and have the power to influence the region around them. Organizations played a major role in allowing Lenin and the Bolsheviks to develop a communist movement within Russia while still maintaining a high degree of ideological purity. They're essentially what allow a social movement to convert
gang, guys, gang.
Participation into power in most cases. So a region needs compelling organization.
Guys, it's the lab. Guys. Lab! Guys, back to the lab, guys, it's home! Guys, the lab! I've never seen this place. You should get familiar, it's home! Guys, it's the lab! We made it home! We made it home! Yippee! The lab! Not the lab, the lab! None of us will ever escape. Yeah, y'all are trapped here forever, the lab!
That could act as the workhorses for change, and in the case of Kanto, there are two major ones, Team Rocket and Silph Co. Now, are either of these inherently communist? No, especially not Silph Co, but they don't have to be. We are more so looking for the existence of compelling organizations in general within a region, because the more a region is able to create strong, compelling organizations, the more likely they are to create strong, compelling communist organizations as well, if that makes sense. There are a couple of regions that are so gripped by capitalism that no communist
Oh, this is the guy whose name I forgot yesterday when I was trying to remember his green elephant.
orgs could realistically succeed within them, but we'll cover those when it's relevant. So in this category,
Yeah, Rose.
Kanto
No, guys, I remember now, it was Rose. But I forgot his name yesterday.
does alright. Maybe not amazing, but certainly better than some other regions, as we'll see. You might be wondering about the Pokemon League. It is an organization, right? And the answer is yes, but because it exists in every region, counting it as an
Okay, you know, it's like good for like Kaizo, but it's really unfortunate that Brock can really only can afford like 2 employees here. Unless the rocks count as like employees. It's like, aw, small business.
org would be a bit redundant, right? Like, yeah, we could talk about it 9 times, or we could all just accept that it does exist and is one of the most powerful organizations on the planet, and then move on. We will talk about the league a little bit later though for some of the weirder regions, but for a standard one like
It's a family business in the anime. Yeah, but didn't his parents like abandon him to take care of all of his siblings while they went like traveling and their business went to shit? And when their mom came back, she wanted to turn the rock type gym into like a water type gym. And Brock's like, you guys are so stupid. Yeah, a thing for beginners, right? Yeah, I think it was in another Pokemon anime. Pokemon Origin Generations, one of them things. I forget exactly what it was called. Where the gym leader will look at how many badges you have, and then they'll actually go, oh, you don't have any yet? Okay, I'll use like the weak Pokemon because it's your first like gym battle ever. I can feel Maple's trauma building. Look, man! Poor Brock.
Kanto, there's not much to be said, as it doesn't seem to be exerting any more or less influence here than other regions. The penultimate piece to our communist puzzle is propaganda. How susceptible are people to propaganda within a region? For a social movement of any kind to take off and grow, propaganda is pretty much a must, as it essentially acts as a megaphone for the movement. But some people are more susceptible to propaganda.
Just like Brock, you adopted a Vulpix. Yo! Oh my god, wait. I have the hand cam here. I can actually show my Vulpix plush. Oh, I adopted a Vulpix. I'm just Brock.
Than others, and certain kinds of propaganda are more effective than others. Both susceptibility and effectivity are important to the success of any social movement, especially a communist one. In this vein, it is a mixed bag for the Kanto region. On one hand, there is a lot of positive speaking about Silph Co. Like, the region loves that company, and honestly, I can't really blame them. It's like the one beacon of decency in an otherwise bleak region. Does it matter that there's a clear connection to Team Rocket there? Nah, who cares? They're the one and only company in the region making any sort of economic difference, so of course people are going to shill for them. So whatever propaganda Silph Co is putting out, it is very effective for the people of the Kanto region, meaning they are susceptible to propaganda. But at the same time, a lot of people seem quite displeased by Team Rocket. It makes sense that Team Rocket is disliked, as it is a criminal organization, but they have to have some sort of propaganda to get as many grunts as they do. This disparity kind of
This is true, because there's like, what, 30-something trainers when you have to enter Silph Co? I feel like that's a lot of people compared to how many people we actually see in the game.
Suggests that the kinds of propaganda that are effective on the general Kanto population are likely quite slim. I think it's important to note that when I'm talking about propaganda, I don't mean like old-timey World War II era propaganda. I'm talking modernized propaganda that takes on a much more subtle appearance. For instance, did you know that the US military pays movies and TV shows that include the military regardless of whether they look good or incompetent? This is because the military sees the benefit of looking incompetent or looking like the bad guys to massive audiences. And it means that a lot of movies or TV shows you wouldn't think of as military propaganda actually are, such as Marvel movies, because they help influence your vision of the US military in a manner that they approve of. This is the kind of propaganda we're talking about in this video.
I picked a hella first stream to come back, it seems. Yeah, we're watching which Pokemon region is the closest to a communist revolution. Welcome in, Kasai.
More subtle and suggestive propaganda that is very common in the world of Pokemon, not the loud brazen propaganda many people immediately associate the word with. Just wanted to get that cleared up. And the final criteria that is important for communist revolution is strong potential leaders. Every revolution needs a leader it can corral around. Mao, Castro, Lenin, there's pretty much always a strong leader.
You know, okay, wait, so I'm like looking at this. Kanto's a good chunk of the video. Rio. Holy shit.
Leader even in non-communist revolutions. Just look at the American Revolution. So every region needs a person that could make a strong potential leader, one who is charismatic and understands the needs of the people and has a degree of publicity or notoriety. Kanto has two main people that I think could fit this role. The first is Lance. He's already got the whole red thing going. Lance is the kind of person who obviously cares about Pokemon. We can see this from his involvement in the Johto region and just the way that he talks about Pokemon. If he cares about—
Oh, I like this animation because did some guy just get hyper beamed in the face? I like that. He's introducing everything. Yeah, but I'm like, damn, Kanto goes on for a while. Lance is a communist. Yo, you got it. Yeah, Dragonite on the slide was so cute. Yeah, Lance just killed a guy.
People nearly as much as he cares about Pokemon, he would make a good leader. And he seems to be quite well regarded by many trainers as well, so he's got that going for him too. He doesn't quite have a huge influence within the region, but he is a strong contender nonetheless. The other one is the complete opposite. It's Giovanni. Giovanni is probably the single most powerful person we see in the Kanto region. He has huge influence and in some ways has already started a relatively successful social movement. However, I feel like he's more of a Stalin than a Lenin, you know? That's not to say Lenin was perfect, but we all know Stalin was far worse by most metrics and mostly used the communist movement for his own benefit. I can totally see Giovanni using a communist movement to further his own endeavors. So while I don't think he would be a revolutionary for the correct reason, I do still think he could act as a leader within the revolution. So those are our 5 criteria. Is the region desperate enough to consider socialism or communism? Is there class solidarity?
You know, I never thought of like ever comparing the parallels of like, yeah, you know, I think Giovanni would definitely be a Stalin. You know, not a sentence I thought I would get today, even with the communism video, but yeah.
And class consciousness within the region. Are there any kind of compelling organizations that could influence the region in a potentially communistic way? Is there effective propaganda within the region and are the people susceptible? And is there a potential leader for the revolution? And based on these criteria, Kanto seems fairly likely to see social movement in the near future. I don't think it's the region that is the most likely to fully revolt, but it's definitely up there. Thank you for sitting with me through that lengthy explanation.
Yippee!
Now we can start getting into some of the other regions quite a bit faster, starting with Johto. Johto is an interesting region. Much like Kanto, it's one of the poorer regions, and I think that's even more apparent here than it is there. On a person-to-person level, the wealth of the people in Johto is only slightly higher than that of Kanto. Like, I'm talking 100 Pokédollars more per trainer. That alone means they should be primed for the socialist issue. However, here we encounter an issue that was present in pre-communist Russia. The peasant population doesn't particularly care about the possibility of change. They seem to be either content or apathetic to their way of life, but the exact reason is not clear. The solution for Lenin when faced with a similar issue was to use organizations to exaggerate the fairly low participation the Bolsheviks had within the peasant population, which in turn allowed them to agitate a larger portion of the population than they would have been able to otherwise. But that's not really an option here. I think Johto is the perfect example of why wealth stratification is a more important measurement than just general poverty. Unlike Kanto, which had a wide divide between the super wealthy and the common man, Johto has no rich people, and as such there's no one really oppressing the everyday person.
Like, what's the biggest city in Johto even? Goldenrod? What even happens in Goldenrod? There's like a store and like a radio tower? Yeah, that's like it, right? Nothing. Yeah. Wait, that sounds base. I want to live in Johto. Yo, go Johto! Yeah, there was like a casino. There was, yeah, so nothing like a Silpco for the equivalent of Johto, huh? Pokeathlon near them? Yeah. The underground shop? Isn't that the underground shop where we go for the first time and then we bump into Silver and bro goes, wait a minute, what the fuck are you wearing? Then he just takes our Rocket uniform. And then the other Rocket that was looking at the time was like, what? You're not part of Team Rocket? Is that the same place? That's the radio building? Oh, that's the radio building. Okay. I mix those places up. What?
They're just kind of inexplicably poor. This disinterest in social movement is not just important for our first criteria, but because the people of Johto are apathetic or content with their lives, they're not easily agitated, nor are they susceptible to propaganda.
So basically, they're too chill to be communists, is what we're getting at here.
We can see this most clearly with NPC reactions to Team Rocket taking over the radio tower. They barely care. At most, they seem mildly annoyed by the action, but that's kind of it. Another major issue—
Bro, could you imagine going into work and suddenly the mafia comes and takes over your building and you're just go, whatever, bro. They still paying me, right? Wait, Johto is so mean! It's like, yo, wait, they like took over my building? Whatever. They're still paying me, right? Is this a day off or do I have to stay here? Like, can I clock out at 5 still? Meet the new boss, the same as the old boss, under new management? Whatever, man. Better get PTO. Do I get hazard pay? Well, the Team Rocket just came and took over the building and they just wanted to broadcast some propaganda, right? That's like it. And then you're like, well, I still get to do my job. They just took over the building. Can't you do this later when I'm off? Not even? Yeah, what did they want to do when they took over the radio tower? Because it wasn't like Giovanni at the head. It was their fanboy, right? I forget his name. They were broadcasting a call for the boss. Oh! Wait, they're just parasocial. Boss, where are you? I miss you, boss. Oh, wait, that's so cute. Wait, they're so parasocial. They're like, oh, okay. Oh, boss, where are you? Like, Team Rocket's ready. We're still here to take over Johto. Could you come back? We miss you. Streamer, when are you streaming? Giovanni, when are you leading? Oh, wait, boss Doko. Yeah. Oh, wait, that's so cute.
Issue for the Johto region is their complete lack of organizations, as we already mentioned. It is the only region that has quite literally 0 compelling organizations. Even Team Rocket is in shambles in this region due to the disappearance of Giovanni, meaning that the evil team that at least provides some compelling organization in almost every other region doesn't exist here. With no interest in change and no organization to bolster said change, a social movement of any kind is going to have a hard time getting started in the Johto region. And it doesn't help that class consciousness is incredibly low too. We as the protagonist have to help pretty much everyone in the region with their issues. From the Ampharos in the lighthouse to the milk tank that isn't producing milk, there is no sense of community or just helping out your neighbor. It's not like the other regions where people are struggling to solve their problems because they don't have HMs or the Pokemon needed. They just aren't helping each other out with simple tasks. Like, what is stopping someone else from feeding the milk tank? Literally nothing, yet no one does it. This is indicative of a highly individualistic society that rarely produces a conscious lower class. Johto also doesn't seem to—
So basically, they hate each other. And, well, couldn't be bothered to go out of their way to go help somebody else. Whoa.
to have a strong figure that could be a communist leader. The closest person is, again, Lance, but even he doesn't seem
Damn, Lance just gets around. He could be the communist leader in Kanto and Johto if he cared enough.
to have the fervor that many leaders had. Hell, Silver might be the best bet if we're being honest. The dude's definitely got some fire in him, and after his in-game redemption, I don't think it's super unlikely that he would at least support a movement for the betterment of the people. For these reasons, I do not think a communist revolution or any social movement of that matter would find success in the Johto region. It's just too stagnant and its people are too okay with that. So let's move on to Ho.
The people are too okay to be communists. They don't give enough fucks and they're not susceptible to propaganda. Guys, I think I found my region. Apparently I'm from Johto.
But first, please consider subscribing. Look, I'm just going to be honest with you.
Yo,
I
subscribe.
like watching the number go up. So if you want to bring me a little bit more joy in my day-to-day life and also enjoy Pokemon videos, maybe consider dropping a sub. It would be greatly appreciated. The Hoenn region is another region that I think would not be very likely to see communist revolution at the moment. If we exclude the giant sleeping monsters threatening to destroy—
Wait, I have one of them! Right here! Kyogre! Yeah! Hi. Does it spin? Whoa.
It's a battle, win or lose. It's the friends you make. Subscribe or you will lose. I'm small meeple. Bye.
the region, Hoenn is actually quite idyllic. The wealth distribution across the region is quite strong, and many of its people seem extremely content with the lives they lead, meaning the socialist question is not important to the people of the region. While there is some class consciousness within the region, as there are a few NPCs that complain about their wages, there are also a lot of people that—
Yeah, but that's just like anyone. I will also complain about my wages if I had one right now. I mean, what?
seem completely oblivious to the idea, mostly because the life they need does not need class consciousness to be enjoyable. The region also seems to
Yeah, that's just life. Like, I just bitch about things all the time. I love bitching. Sometimes you just want to bitch to bitch. And then I bitch.
be quite unaffected by propaganda. There are two different evil teams in Hoenn, and yet most of the NPCs we talk to seem mostly just annoyed by them above all else, which shows that the team's recruitment methods are not effective and that the people of Hoenn are not susceptible to their propaganda. One criteria Hoenn does succeed in, though, is its organizations. There are a number of compelling organizations within the region, showing that Hoenn has some strong potential for further organizational development. There's the Devon Corp, the largest company in the region and the inventor of the Pokenav, Greater Mauville Holdings, which was involved in the building of New and C Mauville, as well as the Mauville City renovations present in Oras, and Mach Motors, a company introduced in Galler's job system. And those are all in addition to the two evil teams we already talked about. So the region definitely has organizational potential, but unfortunately that's kind of the only criteria it has going for it, as there aren't really any strong revolutionary leaders here either. What, you think Steven is gonna lead the communist revolution? The son of the CEO of Devon Corp is gonna turn heel and oppose the very system that allows him to play with rocks all day? No way. And I don't think they're
He just wants to play with rocks. He likes rocks. Yeah, it's like, bro likes rocks way too much. There ain't no way he's gonna lead a communist revolution. And okay, because like Hoenn has like the contest, it has like the battle tents and that kind of stuff. There's like a lot of things going for Hoenn. So like clearly they're too well off and too happy with their lives to go for a communist revolution, right? And bro just wants to play with rocks. There's a lot to do in Hoenn. There's a lot to do in Hoenn. You can get contests. People like watch the contest as well. I remember when you get up to the higher ranks in contests, a lot of people like to show up to watch those contests. So they're just ready to watch these Pokemon, like, I don't know, like dance on stage, right? A lot of people show up. Like the earlier ones, not too many people show up. But then the later ones, there's like 20 people in the room. And that's like a lot for NPC wise. And also like on a small screen.
The rest of the gym leaders or notable people throughout the region are a good fit either. Looking through them, I can only see Watson or Flannery being potential leaders. Watson for his ambition, and Flannery because she has the
Wait, hold up. This angle for Watson goes crazy. Oh, look at his body. Look at his body compared to his head. Me. Me when I pee. Good job, Dave.
Watson or Flannery being potential leaders. Watson for his ambition, and Flannery because she has the fire and passion to start a movement.
I don't know if Flannery's gonna be out there leading a communist revolution. I'ma be real, okay? Red, therefore, communist leader. No! Okay, doesn't Flannery have like some confidence issues or some shit? I see the vision, you see the vision? Okay, so once she gets past her like confidence issues or something like that, then she can be a communist leader. Don't we all? Yeah, I guess, but not anyone that gets over their confidence issues will become a communist leader, right?
So I really don't think it's likely that we see a communist revolution start in the Hoenn region at the moment. However, I do think the Hoenn region could become more interested in social movements as climate change continues to get worse. We know climate change exists in the world of Pokemon due to the existence of Cursola, whose Pokedex entry says it died as a result of climate change and the warming of the oceans. If ocean levels rise in the world of Pokemon, the Hoenn region will undoubtedly be impacted because it is just such a waterful region. You could even say it has too much water. Should climate change put
Too much water. 7.8 law.
stress on Hoenn's economy by causing destruction of coastlines, homes, and businesses, I can definitely see the region as a whole opening up to some social changes. Plus, maybe at that point, a better revolutionary leader will have appeared. Maybe Flannery will grow out of her awkwardness, or maybe Wally will rise to the occasion.
Yo, this is the face of a communist revolution. Wally! Fucking Wally! Wally, bro!
Next is the Sinnoh region, which I think has a very high chance of seeing
I see the vision! What's the vision? Wally?
communist revolution compared to most regions. It's an interesting region because on one hand, it does have a fairly strong economy. As I covered in my quality of life video, the Sinnoh region is far richer than any of the regions that precede it, and the wealth distribution is fairly decent too. Not quite as good as Hoenn's, as there are a number of ultra-rich people, but still better than Kanto's by a notable margin. So
Yeah, Wally's like, what? Depressive backstory. Yeah, I was really sick as a child, and that pissed me off. Then I went to go to Burn Turf Town or whatever, Turf, I forget what it's called. And then I got better. And after I got better, I went on an adventure. And that's what I realized. Communism. It was the way. Is that Wally's thought process here?
Why do I think it's ready for communism? Well, in a lot of Marxist and Leninist theory, communist revolt centers on the factory worker, or blue-collar worker in American. They are considered the ideal candidate for communist interest, and the Sino region is by far the region with the most of these workers. Not only is there the Orberg mine, which employs a large number of workers, there's also Byron's Steel Company, which works primarily on Iron Island, and the Fuego Iron Works, which means Sino is the only region where there are 3 separate entities that could act as strong, compelling organizations within a communist movement. In fact, there are a number of strong organizations based in Sino that further bolster its potential for revolution, such as Jubilife TV, a major broadcast network and I think the inventors of the Poke-Etch, Defog, another Galar company that I think is Sino-based since it's the only region that has the Defog HM, and of course Team Galactic, who we will retouch on in a little bit. Not only this, but the region also seems to have fairly high class consciousness, with a number of NPCs aiding each other and many understanding that the region as a whole works best when it works together, rather than holding the individualistic views of a region like the Johto region. The only category that I think is holding Sino back is propaganda, as the region as a whole
What's holding Sino back? Propaganda. Great line.
seems unaffected by the propaganda we see throughout it, mostly from Team Galactic and the International Police. But the Sino region makes up for that by doing really well in the final category, potential revolutionary leaders. In my opinion, the Sino region has a whopping 4 potential leaders, which might not sound like a lot, but considering most NPCs have like 3 lines of dialogue each, it kind of is. First and foremost is Cynthia. If you want to talk about strong revolution—
Okay, so maybe if Cynthia was like the leader, I'd have to think about it for a second, you know?
leaders, there are very few people stronger than Cynthia, and I don't just mean as a trainer. The gal jumped into the distortion world with us in Platinum. It takes some guts to put yourself in that much danger. On top of this, her interest in mythology and the history of Sinnoh likely means she is extremely well read in general, and should have some understanding of the cyclical class struggles all societies undergo. She is also a great candidate from an optics point of view, as she originates from Celestic Town, one of the smallest and most economically destitute towns in all of Sinnoh, which makes her a strong voice for the working class, and she already has a decent connection to the factory workers thanks to their mutual connection to the Pokemon League. She's got a strong sense of justice and a strong spirit, and above all else, she is well respected in her region. If anyone's going to lead a communist revolution, it's gonna be her. Or it's gonna be Cyrus. Cyrus represents the other side of the coin. The dude is basically already starting a revolution, but this one is to destroy the entire universe, which is kind of crazy. If he's willing to start a movement to rebuild the universe from the ground up, I don't think rebuilding the government from the ground up is too much to ask of him.
I remember, in the animes, this is a great place to pause. In the anime, a new world opened up, like a portal, right? And then his 3 admins, I think Mars, Saturn, who was the Jupiter? Yeah, Jupiter. Yeah. They're like, yo, that's like the new world. Let's go, Cyrus. And Cyrus like, fuck you guys. Fuck you guys. You guys suck, actually. You guys suck. This is my world. Get out of here. And then he just jumps in.
Would definitely be more of an anarcho-communist movement than anything else, but there's no doubting Cyrus's movement building abilities or his hatred for the world as it exists now. So I think he would make a fairly good revolutionary leader as long as he doesn't try to destroy the world along the way. And the final 2
I think he'd be a great communist leader, except when he tries to destroy the entire world.
are Byron and Rourke. These 2 are simple. They're basically the leaders of the factory and mine workers that would make up a large portion of the theoretical communist movement, meaning that they should have more moving power within their organizations than either Cynthia or Cyrus. In fact, if either of those 2 really want a chance at starting revolution, they're going to need input from Byron or Rourke without a doubt, so they would play a part in the movement no matter what. Regardless of who the leader is, I hope you can see why I believe the Sinnoh region would be a prime candidate for communist revolution. So many different aspects just seem to to line up so well, and while it's definitely not perfect, it is among our highest contenders.
Damn.
Another somewhat high contender is actually the Unova region.
Unova
is similar to Sinnoh in a lot of ways. One of those being the high number of factory workers compared to most regions, with many working in Castelia City or Verbank. While the region doesn't have quite as many workers as Sinnoh, it more than makes up for this decrease with its extreme wealth stratification. I mean, the region is based on New York City. Is that really a surprise? The same region that has some of the highest trainer payouts also has some of the lowest, much like how the city with Billionaire Row also has a large homeless and impoverished population. One area of questionability though is class consciousness.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, well, you got paid 60 like monies, and then the other guy pays you like 900 monies.
Despite there being a large number of factory workers, a lot of them seem to be a lot more individualistic than we see in Sinnoh. If only there was a term for this. American exceptionalism. This is, of course, going to cause issues for the early mobilization of the communist movement. But I think the region has a few workarounds on that issue. For instance, Unova is hugely susceptible to propaganda, as we can see by the success of Team Plasma in the original black and white games.
Susceptible to propaganda? Based on America, what?
Like, they were fully convincing people to give up their Pokemon with just a few speeches. It's actually impressive. The region also has a number of compelling organizations, which proves that it can support important organizations. Some examples are Clay's company, the Nimbasa City complexes like the Movie Theater, Sports Dome, and Modeling Agency, as well as P2 Labs, and of course, Team Plasma. However, one area Unova really struggles is its revolutionary leader. There just isn't exactly a clear choice. Sure, Getsus seems like a good one because he was the guy that orchestrated the whole Team Plasma propaganda campaign.
I thought this was supposed to be fiction. Is Glitchstars gonna yell at me? Am I gonna get bonked by Glitchstars? Is Nikon gonna send me a DM being like, Maple, what you reacted today? And I'm like, communism.
But I think he's far too Stalin-esque to actually produce a communist
but
movement.
it'd be
The
so
next most
funny.
appealing leader is N, as he has the heart needed to lead the people, but I don't think he has the notoriety or charisma required. He's lacking the revolutionary fervor, basically. Maybe Hugh could be good, but I feel like he might have too much fervor, you know?
You guys stole my sister's cat. Now I'm gonna be the communist leader.
No, like the intensity he brings might scare some people off. It's a really weird situation to have so many prominent characters, yet so many of them feel misfit for the job. Maybe Drayden or Alder could work? I'm not sure. Let me know who you think would be the best revolutionary leader in the comments down below. So the Unova region is a bit of a mixed bag overall. There is a lot of good here, but it's really hard to start a communist movement without class consciousness and a potent leader. Missing one or the other can be resolved, oftentimes by the other, but lacking both creates a whole host of issues. This is why I think Unova's likelihood for communist revolution is all around middling despite its high factory worker population. It's not like it's impossible, but some new blood would have to enter the scene in order for major changes to happen. Next we have the Kalos region, which is a bit hard to determine. Legends ZA really throws a wrench into our methodology for this process. What was one city in X and Y becomes an entire region in ZA, and one that has a lot more going on than the original 3DS games have in total. It has far more organizations and a far more complex cast of characters. I also, to be transparent, haven't played ZA yet. I know,
What?
I should. It's on my list.
What? That's crazy. It only took me like, how long did it take me to actually beat that game on stream? It only took me like forever. What?
I'll do it as soon as possible, but I simply do not have time right now. I have watched a lot
8 months, maybe 9. Me when I keep scheduling Kaizo streams.
of other people play the game though, so I think I have a general idea of what's going on in the city, and it's pretty weird. Anyway, ZA also throws a wrench into the mixer because it creates a bit of a time gap across the games. We have pretty much no
Yeah, but yet to play the DLC. Okay, and?
idea what the rest of the Kalos region is like at the time of ZA. So if I want to judge the region as a whole, I have either an incomplete or incongruent dataset to go off of. I think the best way to do this is to split the analysis in two, doing the Kalos region as we see it in X and Y, and then doing a separate analysis for Lumios as we see it in ZA, if that makes sense. For the Kalos region as a whole, I do not think the region is super susceptible to communist change. Remember how way back at the beginning of the video, I said that people who make a decent living will likely not be interested in communist change or social movements in general? Well, that's where we are in Kalos. Almost every single NPC we come across has a very solid level of wealth. They're all flush with cash, which means the system the Kalos region has
They're all rich as fuck.
instituted is working pretty well. While there are some super rich people in the region, like the owners of the Parfum Palace and Diantha the movie star champion, the rest of the region seems to be able to live very well, so they don't really care about the wealth stratification. I'm not entirely sure why Kalos is this way. Maybe it's a secret benefit of Lumios, maybe it actually has a government that wants its people to have a good life, who knows? Whatever the reason,
The government wanting people to have a good life? Fuck, I need to move into this region. Holy shit.
then it is certainly not a region that would see the benefit of communist change. Another category the Kalos region doesn't do too well in is class consciousness. But again, it's probably because the people don't feel that they need it, even if it would be very helpful for them, even when they're rich. Remember, the ultra-rich are the most class conscious of the economic classes. Almost all of them are on the same page in terms of what is best for them. If a population wants to wiggle their way out from under the thumb of their corporate overlords, it is important to be class conscious regardless of how well off the members of the class are. So Kalos could still definitely benefit from class consciousness, and they do pretty poorly in the remaining categories as well. There are not too many organizations in this region in the traditional sense, aside from Team Flare, which we all know does not exist in the modern day Kalos region in the way it did 5 years ago. But besides that, the only other notable organization we see is the aforementioned Parfum Palace, and the rest all exist in Lumios. The region also does not react too well to propaganda either, but that's not really a huge issue for them in this case. As for Lumios in ZA, I think there are actually quite a few differences. For instance, the people are even richer. Like, the income system for the ZA Royale just gives out so much money. You can earn like 100,000 Poké Dollars a night, and while it is an event
And I spent all that money on clothes shopping in this game, and it was the best.
that won't last forever, it's still pretty telling that the organization behind it can use such huge amounts of money for a battle series that pretty much anyone can enter. This of
Me when I jump people on the street so I can buy a cute outfit when the shop opens.
course means that wealth stratification is likely lower, but in pretty much every other category, I actually think the city does better than the region as a whole. There is definitely more class consciousness abound, as we do see like-minded people
The ugly ass suit. The one where it makes me look like a couch. Reed, can you put the short you edited for that one, I think? Ew! Ew! It looks so gross! Gotta take it off! That's so bad! My pieces look absolutely marvelous on you! Fuck off, lady! You don't have eyes! It's so ugly! Yeah, I look like a couch! I look like a fucking couch! It belonged to my mom before she passed. Bro, you can trauma dump later! I have to trauma dump now! I'm so ugly!
banding together under common ideologies. I am of course talking about the organizations or teams that exist within the city. The Fist of Justice, the Rust Syndicate, Team MZ, Dynamo, and probably a few I'm forgetting. These are all teams that are made up of normal everyday people who have gathered around a leader, which should also mean the city has a ton of potential leaders for communist revolution, right? Well, I'm not so sure. I don't know if any of the leaders we see truly have the qualities of a revolutionary leader. Maybe Ivor, but I don't know enough about him to say for sure. I honestly wonder if you could turn Jacinth into a class traitor by telling her communism would yield better Pokemon battles. I don't think it's likely, but it's gotta be worth a shot, right? Identifying possible communist leaders in Lumios is definitely an area that is affected by my inexperience with the games. So if you have more experience and think there are some very obvious people that I'm missing, please let me know.
When? I don't think so. Like, girl just, like, when she was missing, quote unquote, she just wanted to get away from her older brother for like a day. day being like, I just needed a place to chill. I just needed to be a loner over here. What are you guys doing? He's a follower. These sentences are wild. Look, it's a Pokemon video that involves communism, of course. I don't know, I feel like everyone kind of just has like too much going for them to want to turn to a communist leader.
Know in the comments down below. So while I think
The ugly ass suit.
there are some very obvious people that I'm missing, please let me know in the comments down below.
It's so fucking ugly.
So while I think the Kalos region as a whole lacks the requirements for communist change, I think there is potential brewing in Lumios. The city has some interesting energy, and I'm not just talking about rogue mega evolution energy. Perhaps if a movement starts within the city, the rest of the region would follow suit, but it's kind of hard to say at this point in time. Next is the Alola region, which I think has a very high chance of turning to communism, but it's a bit weird. The Alola region as a whole has a natural culture of helping each other out. It is culturally a communal region, as many of its core beliefs center on community and the ability for everyone to rely on those around them. Despite how much these beliefs make Alola sound like a commune, it's actually not communistic because it's communal. It's a weird paradox. Like, because they are so communal, they're less likely to see the need for a communist movement. They won't rely on the government to govern the communism because they're already making their own, which makes them less likely to pursue governed communism, if that makes any sense at all. What I'm trying to say is that Alola's naturally giving attitude makes them less likely to see the need for communist revolution, but on paper that makes them the most communist region. See what I mean? Like, they might just get there without a revolt on their own, which makes it really hard to judge the region based on our criteria. If we do look at the region with our criteria, it's kind of a mixed bag. For wealth stratification, the region does decently. They're not as rich as Kalos, but they still do pretty well for themselves, meaning the interest in the socialist issue due to poor working/living conditions is probably low. Class consciousness is quite high
Olivia. Too commie to be commie, basically, yeah.
though, and I think the reason is self-explanatory. You need to be able to understand the needs of your fellow working class people in order to help them in the way that the people of Alola do. I would also say they're somewhat susceptible to propaganda as well, primarily because of the opinions they hold about the Aether Foundation, as the Foundation is seen by the public as a very positive entity, when that's not really the case. But I do think the region really struggles with its organizations. There are just not many of them due to the region's highly rural nature. It's basically just the Aether Foundation, the Battle Royale thing, and the Observatory, but that's kind of it. Oh, and I guess Team Skull exists too. Even the Pokemon League barely has a presence here, as it's just getting set up now. I guess you could potentially consider the Ultra Recon Squad an organization too, but it is also a weird gray area since they're obviously not from Alola. As for revolutionary leaders, there are a couple that come to mind. First up is Hala. The man loves Alola, is strong and determined, and is already well known thanks to him being a kahuna. I think that if he wanted to push for communism, the rest of the region would just kind of follow.
If this guy liked communism enough, then it would just happen. But because he's too nice, it won't happen.
Usamine is another one with the influence to push for change in economic systems, but I don't think she has the correct system of beliefs to do something like that. Gladion, on the other hand, I think would be a prime candidate for leadership. If he can turn his edginess into charisma, he's there. He has the fervor—
If he can turn his edginess into charisma. Okay, but Gladion being so edgy is very funny.
And the heart. All he needs is the knowledge. So while I'm not sure the Alola region would get to—
He could do it, he just needs to learn.
Communism through revolution, I do think it's the region that is the closest to the economic system in general. But if there is one region that is nowhere close to communist revolution, it's Galar. And the reason is simple. Just look at Britain in real life. I don't know if there's another region that emulates its IRL counterparts more closely than Galar. The entire region is just so deep in the dredges of capitalism. Like, the amount of corporatization that has taken place in this region is absurd. Even the Pokemon League, which anyone can enter in most regions, requires a fat sponsorship in order to participate in Galar. It's actually pretty dystopian. Could you imagine not being able to take the Pokemon journey because no one wants to sponsor you? Horrifying. But I think there's a much—
Look, somehow I get sponsored and I still don't know how, okay? Except for the one I missed yesterday. Wow. I missed it. True. Yeah, like how the hell do I even get invites for sponsorships? Who knows? I say fuck too much.
More sinister side to this corporatization. I think it sends signals about the mindset of the rest of the region. Such a system of sponsorship kind of discourages class.
Did we get sponsored by anyone Sword and Shield? I thought Leon basically said, yo, I like these two. Yeah, it was Leon, right? Because, you know, the younger brother and the friend.
Consciousness through propaganda. It promotes the idea that anyone could get a sponsor for the league as an individual, and by doing so creates a far more individualistic environment than most Pokemon regions have. You don't need to rely on your fellow trainers, just trust a company and they'll take care of the rest. While the rest of the region might not have the same individualistic plight as trainers do, I wouldn't be surprised if this kind of mentality was common across the region because
Trust the company, they'll take care of the rest. And now we're watching this video. Thank you, Glitch Stars.
Oh, you guys need a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
of the popularity of battles here. They're full to the brim with fans, many of whom probably battle themselves at least as a hobby and carry the same dream of sponsorship with them in their daily life, effectively neutering class consciousness within the everyday person. It's actually an incredibly effective form of anti-class consciousness propaganda, which does also prove that the region is susceptible to propaganda. In most cases, this would be of benefit to the region, but the grasp of capitalism is too tight around the throats of Galar for that to be a positive here. The only category that I can say the region does do well in is its ability to create compelling organizations, because it has a ton of those. But a lot of them are mega corporations, which are so entangled in the fabric of Galar that there would 100% be resistance from them when it comes to a communist revolution. Galar also comes up short for potential revolutionary leaders.
Sonia!
Who's gonna do it? Marnie? Chairman Rose? Mr. Sponsorship himself? Leon? Like, no, I'm sorry. Don't get me wrong, I don't think Leon is a bad guy. He's obviously a caring man as we see in the games, but he is literally the poster child for capitalism. Bro has more organizations as sponsors than regions have in general. He would have to be one of the biggest class traders of all time to be a communist leader, and I guess it is technically possible, I just don't see a clear route to that for him. And finally, we come to Paldea. Paldea is kind of funny, because on one hand, it is very financially stable, and as such, likely wouldn't be too interested in communism. The wealth stratification just isn't there. Even the most destitute towns in Paldea are still very nice by Pokemon standards. I mean, even just look at the house we start in. We're supposed to be the average student, and we have a really nice house.
We have a house. We have a pumpkin patch in the garden. We have... Oh, wait, the Coco is so cute. Oh, anyways, up with this house. Guys, this economy, they have affordable housing. But Maple, we banned Coco. No, never!
We start in. We're supposed to be the average...
Start drawing again, bro!
...student, and we have a really nice house. So right off the bat, communism doesn't seem too likely here, and it only gets worse when we look at class consciousness and compelling orgs. There is basically none of both. The region is incredibly individualistic, as we can see by just looking at the Grand Treasure Hunt, where a bunch of children get sent out on mostly solo missions to find their treasure across the region. Sure, their treasure could be class consciousness, but the way it's framed feels a lot more like they want the kids to either make important memories or find physical treasure rather than trying to find the methods to improve their material conditions. Another way we can look at class consciousness is by looking at the treatment of Penny and Team Star. The
frames, don't worry about it. The 5 FPS kid. Yeah, hold on.
Feels a lot more like get sent out
over here.
See by just looking at the Grand Treasure Hunt, where a bunch of children get sent out on
mostly
solo missions to find their treasure across the region. Sure, their treasure could be class consciousness, but the way it's framed feels a lot more like they want the kids to either make important memories or find physical treasure rather than trying to find the methods to improve their material conditions.
They'll be communist just for the frames, share the frames. It's our frames.
Another way we can look at class consciousness is by looking at the treatment of Penny and Team Star. They were basically outcast for being different and bullied so badly they didn't want to go to school. Rather than the school standing by them to try and solve the issue, they just let them leave. Literally watched as class divides grew and did nothing to stop it. As for compelling organizations, it's basically just the academy. The rest of the region is pretty barren for influential groups. So by our traditional metrics, the Paldea region doesn't seem like a region that would be interested in communism. But on the other hand, if there's one saving grace for Paldea, it's that children love communism, and the region has a huge student.
Wait, guys, this is a banger of a line. The children love the mines. No, the children yearn for communism.
It's that children love communism, and the region has a huge student population. This could prime the region for a strong social movement in the next couple of decades if a young upstart can corral his former classmates into action. I'm not entirely sure who this would be though, as none of the students we meet as a player seem to have that revolutionary fervor. Honestly, I kind of feel like Larry might be the best choice.
Larry is like one bad day at work away from communism, okay? He works like 3 jobs. Larry? I would follow Larry, okay? Larry's gonna be so funny. I feel like Larry being the communist leader would be the funniest one. I don't think it would. He's too tired for that shit. Okay, but consider that he doesn't have to go to work anymore if there's a communist revolution.
I know he's not a student like I was saying, but the dude is very clearly not enjoying life under capitalism, so maybe in the future he will get fed up and change something. He is well regarded in the region and is well known as both a gym leader and an Elite 4 member. Sometimes the wisdom of the elders is best used when it's paired with the energy of the youth, so maybe he could find a younger person to work with or something. I don't know. Regardless, I think I've talked enough about communism.
Oh, he just said he was too old for communism.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and please try to keep any conversations that happen in the comments respectful. I know that's pretty much impossible to ask when it comes to politics these days.
Wait, which one won? What's the answer? Hi, Maple from the future here. So, as you can see, we never got an answer. So, what better way to decide which Pokemon region is the closest to a communist revolution than to do it via democracy? I asked my Discord after watching this video, which one do you guys think is the closest? And ta-da! Here are the results on the screen. Yippee! Can you put the results? Like, okay, this one, this is the winner. Okay, awesome. Yeah, gang. Neat. Okay, as you can see, here are the votes. Even though this, I believe, was the least likely region to be closest to the communist revolution, I think my community just went, well, it's Kalos. It's based on France. They already did one type of revolution. I'm pretty sure that's the logic, or I don't know, man. I don't know. I just thought it'd be funny to decide via democracy which one's closest to the communist revolution. But yeah, probably one of the weirder Pokemon videos I've reacted to, considering the fact that I don't exactly have much variety of reacts and that kind of stuff. But yeah, definitely one of the weirder ones, and it just caught my eye because I was like, damn, what a wild thumbnail and concept. But ta-da! Okay, bye everybody. Bye.